Okay, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida Extension Service here in Hernando County, and welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. We are on a new platform today. We've been doing this for a while on Zoom to a loyal group of people who followed us on a regular basis and had lots and lots of lawn and garden and plant and palm tree and every other kind of question. And we switched to a new platform that enables us to do this live on our Facebook page and our Facebook gardener group, and also to our YouTube page. So I'm here this morning with Lily Browning. Good morning, Lily. How are you?
Good morning, Bill. I'm just fine. How are you?
I am just great. I'm kind of excited to see how well this works, and hopefully I won't mess up any of the controls, and hopefully it's showing just fine on everybody's Facebook page also. I want to mention that if you guys have any kind of questions, lawn and garden question, anything to do with palm trees, with water resources, pretty much anything, if you just type it in the comments underneath where you see us in the little box live on your screen, I can read those, and I see some popping up right now. Here, let's see exactly how well this works. And I can even show the comments. Look at that. Well, good morning, Khalid. And Deborah Sue, one of our brand new master gardeners, is on here also. She says it looks good. So isn't this great? All this new technology we're able to use.
This is pretty too. It's very professional looking.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I tried to get all the correct colors and all the backgrounds, and we have some other pop-ups for a little bit later on when we're sharing our contact information and how to get in touch with us. So like I said, whether you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, feel free to type in a question at the bottom of your screen. If you have a picture and you share that also, I should be able to see it. I may be able to share it. So somebody share a picture of one of your plants, and that way we can kind of experiment with it and see if it works or not. So we got a couple other comments here. Chuck and Barbie, good morning. How are you guys doing? And Carol Ann, who is one of our regulars when we were doing it on Zoom.
Good morning, Carol Ann.
It looks like she found us also. So while we're waiting for a couple questions to come in here, let's see, Lily, what kind of classes do you have coming up? What do you have going on?
Well, next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. That's my normal class time. I'm having, what is it called? Wildflowers or weeds, or weeds or wildflowers. Often overlooked pollinators. So I think that'll be a fun and interesting class. I haven't got it ready yet, so I've got to learn all about it and have it ready for you on Wednesday, because I think there's a lot of things that we just put in our mind that's a weed, that's a weed, that's a weed. And to me, a weed is a matter of opinion, unless it's an invasive exotic weed, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, like what we call Spanish needle, Biden's alba.
Yes, I have a whole bunch of it growing in my flower bed out front.
Me too. That's exactly where I have it, is growing out front. And sure, it grows like crazy. And I do have my lawn guy. I showed him where I would like him to mow it down, but leave it alone in the bed, at least part of it. Now, it's a problem because it puts those hitchhikers all over you, and people don't like that, or it getting on their dogs.
Yeah.
But my dogs don't go in that area. And I really do not have the heart to take it out of there completely, because butterflies are around it all of the time. And for a photographer, it's a dream, because I just step out there to where that Spanish needle is, and I'm going to find a butterfly. I'm going to find a bee. I'm going to find a beetle on those flowers. So, and that's just one example.
And something else people don't realize, because I had a class on beneficial insects a few days ago. Many of our beneficial insects, green lacewings and ladybugs and all those little insects that we love to have in our garden to help eat the aphids and mealybugs and all the pests, they really, really enjoy basically weeds.
Yeah.
The wildflowers and weeds, the ones that get the little tiny flowers, because many of those insects need a certain amount of nectar and pollen that they get from those weeds to be able to complete their life cycle, and for the females to be able to lay eggs so that you end up with more green lacewings or ladybugs or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important from that respect. Also, a lot of people feel that weeds and what we may call wildflowers look a little unsightly in their flower beds and gardens. If there's a way that you can have an organized spot somewhere in your yard or maybe close by to your vegetable garden, it really is a very good hangout place for those beneficial insects.
Do you see Deborah Sue's question?
Yes, I do.
I think we need to refer her to Chinseegit when they get started up again. They have those edible plants you can eat classes.
Yes, we've had those classes in the past. We haven't been able to for a while. You know, COVID has really thrown us into a bit of a tailspin. But yeah, we could do another one of those sometime. I know that Rita Grant was the one who normally teaches those classes, different things, different weeds that you can eat. A lot of people are really interested in picking weeds out of their lawn or garden and putting them in a salad. I've never really gotten too much into that. I prefer to get most of my salad fixings either from my vegetable garden or from the grocery store. But many of them are edible. But of course, you want to be careful because some of them are not particularly edible either. And there are a lot of poisonous things out there too. So
yeah, maybe we can get Rita to even do a Zoom class on her edible landscapes. Again, I'm going to see her on Saturday. Maybe I'll talk to her about that.
Yeah, ask her if she has a computer and a camera and a microphone. And if she does, she can join us right on here and talk a little bit about edible weeds and some of the different things that you can eat safely. And I know that many of them are very, very nutritious. It's just you want to be really careful what you're eating first. You want to kind of do a little background investigation before you start picking them and eating them right away.
And actually what I can do is she at some time or another, I think it was last year, came to our water awareness series and presented that. So that means it's recorded out there under government broadcasting. What I'm going to do is find it and put that link on my Facebook page, Hernando FFL program Facebook page, and then you'll be able to watch Rita talk about that. So let me.
Okay. Yeah, and after you post that, we'll share it on our Facebook page also.
Mm-hmm.
So that's available to people. Chuck and Barbie said that they're photographers as well, and they planted a lot of different plants to attract butterflies just so they can take pictures of them. And I know you're a photographer also.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that Spanish needle is really just one of them. Another one, although I don't think it's very transplantable, but you find it out in the wild, any of the thistles, oh my gosh, just go find, a big purple thistle, and the butterflies will just stand there and pose for you.
Yes, they will. So they said they grow tons of lemongrass and cranberry hibiscus, which grow like weeds. Yeah, if you pick the right Florida-friendly plants and put them in the right spot in your yard, many of them will take off and grow like a weed. I know my favorite is firebush.
Yes.
Everywhere I've lived, I had to have a firebush because they actually do attract the hummingbirds. The only thing I've ever seen hummingbirds on is firebush.
I've seen them on fire spike as well, which is not a negative. And this transitions into a question I had yesterday that I wasn't able to answer all that well. And it transitions into it because it has me thinking of an area right outside my window here that I'm going to change into a little wildlife section. My whole yard is wildlife friendly, but this is where I'm trying to purposefully attract them so I can look at them and enjoy them. So I really only have crabgrass there. So I could wait till winter and just kind of rake it all away. But the question I got yesterday was how to kill grass in an environmentally friendly fashion. So I guess they mean no Roundup is what they are referring to. And I didn't really have an answer because I didn't know how big of a space she was talking about. I mean, you can smother it out in small spaces with an old piece of carpet, or like I said, even mulch bags, bags full of mulch until you go to use it. Or you have any other ideas?
If you're trying to kill or clear out a spot that has, let's say, crabgrass or something like that growing on it, you can cover it with cardboard or dark tarp to block the sunlight, and that is going to kill it, but you still have to go back and dig it out and physically remove it. Or you could do the old-fashioned shovel and hands and knees and pull it up by hand. That's effective. But there are no, I don't know what you would want to call it, environmentally friendly or non-chemical ways. There are no magic things to spray on it. Something like vinegar is marginally effective on killing weeds. And I know that it really depends on what kind of weed it is. Yeah. Vinegar works much better on some species of weeds than others, and how old it is. So if it's a teeny tiny little weed that's just sprouted, vinegar may be effective on killing it. But if it's like a crabgrass patch that's grown, fairly large and fairly thick, vinegar's not going to, just grocery store vinegar is not going to do it. So
the area I'm looking at is pretty sparse in grass anyway, so that's kind of why I chose that area as well.
Well, the old shovel method is good exercise, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah, not my favorite thing to do either. I just tell myself it's good exercise. Okay, so we have a question here. Should Canna lilies be deadheaded? What do you think, Lily?
I haven't ever seen them.
Lily expert.
Yeah, I'm the lily expert. Please don't deadhead me. That's all. I've never seen them deadheaded. I don't think it's really all that necessary. Most people just, let the old flowers kind of wither away and the new ones come back. They're not like roses or anything. What do you think about it?
You can deadhead them. It's going to keep them looking a little neater and nicer after that flower is completely done. Mm-hmm. Might look a little unsightly still hanging there. But canna lilies pop up in the spring. They grow and flower during the summer. I don't think deadheading for cannas is going to produce more flowers.
Okay.
They should be getting pretty close to being done, and they'll be going dormant within the next month or two at this point. So Carol Ann said, I added a picture to the Facebook page under the event, which I do not see on here. So obviously we can see your comments, but we can't see the actual pictures.
Let me see if I can see it by going onto your site.
Okay.
That won't help you see it, but
so sending out feelers or maybe roots to the ground, does that mean it needs a bigger pot, or should she just leave it alone? For most plants, putting them in a bigger pot gives them more room to grow. And having a plant in too small of a pot is going to restrict the roots. It restricts the above ground growth. And for many plants, they're eventually going to suffer and not be as healthy or as attractive.
Yeah, I don't see Carol Ann's fern picture, but
we'll work on that for in the future.
Yeah. What's it, putting out feelers, putting out feelings. And what was your answer about that? I'm sorry. I would think it might need a little bit of a bigger pot. I'm not sure.
It probably does, because ferns they put out those, what do they call them? It's where the fern leaf is curled up.
Yeah.
When it first comes up and then unfurls.
Yes.
So if your fern's putting out new growth and it looks pretty full in the pot, you may want to think about putting it in a bigger pot. And with the fern, the bigger the pot you put it in, the more it's going to grow and the bigger it's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all kinds of questions starting to roll in here now about a little bit of everything, I think. So root eating bugs. And I can tell you with pretty much certainty, they are not, well, this depends on exactly where you are. If you're anywhere near Central Florida, they are not Japanese beetles because we generally don't have Japanese beetles here in Central Florida. They range up into the panhandle, so we do have them in Florida, but just by a little bit. Trying to keep things organic. Any suggestions for organic pesticides for vegetables? I'm trying diatomaceous earth right now, but I'm not sure it's really working. There's a couple different questions there. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what kind of root-eating bug you have. There are a number of different insect pests that you can get on vegetables. It all depends on what like tomatoes get different pests than cabbage, which is different from okra. Some of them, almost everything can get things like aphids, but there are others more specific insect pests that you would find, let's say, on a tomato plant, but you wouldn't find on okra or cabbage. For most insect pests on vegetables, a good organic pesticide that you probably want to start with would be insecticidal soap. And you're going to have much better results if you buy the stuff from the store, the lawn and garden center, or a big box store, the actual insecticidal soap. Because if you mix it from, let's say, Dawn dishwashing liquid or dish soap, the problem with that is almost all of them now are detergents. And detergents are very, very tough on plant leaves. So if you do want to use a detergent on your plants, you have to spray it on, and 5 or 10 minutes later, you have to very carefully wash it off. But if you're using insecticidal soap that you bought from a lawn and garden center or Amazon, I guess I can put a plug in for Amazon, you can get everything from there.
I was thinking you might even be able to buy soap like Ivory soap, without any detergent from Amazon as well. She says later on she is in Florida. Marlena is in Florida.
Okay. Okay. So it's most likely not Japanese beetles, but diatomaceous earth works well on small insects that are crawling around your garden that may be pests. It's kind of limited in what it controls, and the first time it rains, it's washed away. You're going to have to reapply it. And I don't know what's happening in your neighborhood, but here in my neighborhood, it's raining every single day. So you would have to reapply it every single day for it to be effective. Insecticidal soap works very well on a wide range of everything from aphids to mealybugs to whiteflies to spider mites. You'll have to spray it more than once, but it's safe for you to use and safe for your plants, so you can spray it more often. You want to double check the label to make sure that, if there's any restrictions about how often you should or shouldn't use it, you're staying within them. So I know that I'm going to be writing up something. I'm going to probably work with 1 or 2 other people. That's on my list of things to do, is contact Matt Borden, because he did write a University of Florida fact sheet on homemade remedies like dishwashing liquid and vinegar and things like that, and are they effective or not.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I was going to put together a toolkit that for home vegetable gardeners, what kind of controls should you have in your toolkit, and what should you use it on? Because home vegetable gardeners really don't need that many different kind of sprays to be able to control most everything. And there are plenty of organic, low toxicity controls out there that are going to be effective, that if you have them in your toolbox and you know what to use them on, you're going to solve 99% of your pest problems right there.
And timing. timing solves 99% of it too. Planting the right vegetables at the right time.
It does. And Chuck pointed out that he's the one typing in here today. Barbie's working. So,
okay.
So as are we also. Cardboard sheet mulching works especially for gardens. And I've used that before. That works. If you put that down for a while, it's going to kill any grass or weeds or anything underneath it. And then if you dig up the remnants, what's left, that can work pretty well.
And there's another plug for Amazon. We can always get our cardboard from Amazon.
Exactly. If you order enough, you'll have plenty of cardboard. So, okay, here's a interesting one. Deborah Sue asks, how can one rid the vines from a fence where a natural pond is near the other side without massive labor and poisons?
Okay, well, first of all, depending on how close you are to that pond, you cannot spray anything there without an aquatic pesticide license. So just know that as well.
Yes, so if the fence is like at the water's edge, that limits your sprays if you wanted to use them. But if you don't want to use any kind of sprays or massive labor,
yeah,
you kind of have to use either one or the other.
Yeah, you can't give it a dirty look to make it go away, unfortunately. You can snip, the bottom, and that will kill the vine at the top, but that doesn't do anything about what's still rooted in the ground.
And depending on what kind of vine it is, many of them totally die back during the winter.
Yeah.
So in the middle of winter, once it's turned dead and brown, you can go out there and pull the old vines off the fence pretty easily and bag them up. And the next spring, when whatever kind of vine this is just popping up, go out there and keep cutting it at ground level. And you will have to be diligent, and it may take a while, but eventually if you stick with it, you'll win and the vine will lose, because eventually it will give up.
Unless it's skunk vine, in which then it's just, consider it your stress relief, going out there and pulling those vines. But if it is, like he said, bag it up and throw it away, because every little piece you leave on the ground will grow into more skunk vine. Exactly.
And like I said, that all depends on exactly what kind of vine it is, and it may be several different vines. I have a hedge right out in front of the house, and I have skunk vine, I have Virginia creeper, I don't have air potato in it.
Probably greenbrier.
I have greenbrier, yeah. So those are the three big, most common ones that you're going to see.
It's healing up now, but I had a whole bunch of nice scratches from dealing with some greenbrier. There's a reason they also call that cat's claw a vine.
Yes, it does have those little sharp claws on it. Okay, Chuck is asking a tough one here. What do you think about growing Mexican sunflower, carefully mitigated, as a nitrogen source to supplement chicken manure? Once again, there's a couple different points or questions there. Chicken manure is very, very high nitrogen naturally. So if you're using chicken manure and you're using it on any kind of edible plants, you want to be sure to compost it thoroughly and carefully. And there's a lot of good information online about that. For certified organic farms, there's certain rules they have to follow. So if you follow the exact same rules, you could be reasonably certain that your chicken manure is safe to use on edible crops.
We have a video on your page and my page called Trash to Treasure, in which we have Laura, what's her last name?
Laura Bennett.
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. She's the ag agent, and she covers that as far as the pathogens and other things in manure. So it's well worth watching, even just that, to see what she had to say about it too. But yeah, like he said, be very, very careful using the manures because of the the E. coli and the other pathogens that could be an issue. Now, growing Mexican sunflower. I'll let you deal with that, Bill.
Mexican sunflower, I'm not sure if you're referring to the Tithonia or the other Mexican sunflower that gets it'll get like 10, 15 feet tall.
Yeah, they call
very big plant.
Call those crazy daisies.
Yeah. You could chop that up and compost it. That's going to give you a lot of organic matter. It's not a nitrogen fixing plant that I know of. I don't think it's a legume or in the bean family. But I'm not an expert off the top of my head with Mexican sunflower.
I think he'd be better off growing perennial peanut if he was looking for a nitrogen fixing type plant, or if you just want a source. I mean, there's lots of things you can grow that aren't going to be getting out of control, you know, and on FLEPC's watch list, the Florida Exotic Pest Plant Council's watch list.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it probably would accomplish the same thing as any other plant as far as nitrogen, wouldn't it, Bill?
Sure. Even if it's not a nitrogen fixing plant, if you grow it as a cover crop and chop it up and either turn it under and let it decay in the soil or compost it and work it in your garden, it's going to give you a lot of organic matter. But there are a lot of other cover crops that you could use also. One that I've used before is cowpeas or black-eyed peas. That's a good summertime cover crop, and that does provide a lot of extra nitrogen for the soil. So if you look online, University of Florida has a lot of information and fact sheets on cover crops. And I know that I've done classes on them before. I'm not sure if I have one recorded or not. I'll check on that. And I will check on the Trash to Treasure class that we did also and see if I converted that into a video yet or not.
It's on there.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used the link for people who might not want to attend our compost workshop. I give them that link, so it's there.
Okay, it's so hard to keep on top of what I've made into a video and what is called to be made and what we put on Facebook and which Facebook. And
I'd be, though, concerned with a potentially invasive plant, even in a compost, because in a home compost, you don't know that you're going to destroy it completely. And you might end up with more Mexican sunflowers in your yard than you ever wanted or dreamed of. So
that can be a problem. I got some free compost from a local organic farm, and they make theirs. They get truckloads of wood chippings dumped there from the tree service companies. And I brought home a few buckets of it, and it looked just fine. And I had a partial bucket left, and there was a little hole that dogs had dug behind the air conditioner outside. I tossed it behind there. And you know what I got in my yard? An air potato vine.
Oh, nice.
So I am the proud owner of an air potato vine also, which of course I've left for pictures, and it almost immediately got air potato beetles feeding on it, so it's all chewed up now.
Cool.
I had a caterpillar chewing on it one day. I got a pretty cool video of that. So we have several questions here about all kinds of suggestions for upcoming classes. Is there a course on citrus trees? Not that I have done, although I will put that on the suggestion list. That comes in really helpful for anybody watching us today.
Yeah.
If there's a class or a topic that you want us to teach on, just make a suggestion, because I know that I start to run out of ideas eventually, and I'm thinking like, what kind of classes should we plan for next month? So your suggestions definitely come in helpful.
Didn't you do one on something about edible crops, and you talked about those new fingerlings or something?
I'm not sure if I was going to teach on that, the finger limes.
Yeah.
I was going to try to get a University of Florida researcher to speak on that.
Okay.
And we just recently did one on growing strawberries in the home garden. That is on Facebook. That was a very good class.
So, see, I'm getting confused of what we've actually done and what we've only just talked about.
Exactly. And something on the best way to save seeds. Lily, that might be a good suggestion for you right there.
Well, I'm not sure if she's talking about vegetable seeds or, native plant seeds. Somebody asked me about that yesterday. Mikkel asked me about that yesterday, and I referred her to Rita because I wasn't sure which, native plant she was referring to.
Yeah, because there are a lot of plants that you can save seeds from and replant. And can canna lilies be grown from seeds?
I don't know.
I'm positive. I don't know of anybody who has done that. I'm not even positive if the flower sets seed.
With those, you can cut off a piece and literally stick it in the ground, and it should grow, especially maybe not in the really, really sandy soils where I am in the Royal Highlands, but I know in more east, like where the Master Gardener Nursery is, it would certainly work. Or you can separate them, can't you?
Oh yeah, cannas are, any kind of lilies can be dug up every couple years and separated, and you can end up with more and more to plant all over your yard. When your canna lily, when the flower is all done blooming and it's kind of faded and turning brown, if you cut it off and put it in a brown paper bag, if there are seeds in it, they will fall out. You can do that with amaryllis, because amaryllis flowers a lot of times will set seeds that you can plant and grow an amaryllis from seed.
Cool.
So Wendy, another one of our brand new master gardeners in the new class, who you get to teach this coming Tuesday. Don't forget, Lily.
You're reminding me of that. I don't have that ready at all.
So her potted hibiscus is getting yellow leaves and several buds are falling off before the bloom opens. What can I do?
Well, this is like the classic question we get every third week, isn't it?
It is, because hibiscus can be really fussy. A hibiscus, if you give it too much water, the leaves turn yellow. If it has too little water, it turns yellow. If it has too much sun, it's unhappy. If it has too little sun, it's unhappy. They can be kind of fussy. The buds falling off, there are two different insects, and I believe both of them are invasive, that can cause problems with hibiscus flowers. So when your hibiscus is setting the bud, before it opens, if it falls off, I can think of 3 different things that could be right off the top of my head.
Could be a thrips.
Aphids or mealybugs or something feeding on the stem. And if you look very closely where the bud attaches to the plant, the little stem, if something is feeding on that stem, it'll fall off early. There is a invasive weevil that will get in hibiscus buds and damage the inside of the bud so it falls off before it blooms. And there is an invasive gall midge, I believe, that does the same thing. So you can, if you think that's what it is, you could take the flowers right after they fall off and cut them open and open them up. And if you see any squiggly little teeny tiny insects in there, look at them under a microscope and figure out, is this a gall midge, which is a fly larva, or is this a beetle larva? And I know what the difference is between them, but Wendy doesn't yet. So maybe this is a really good extra assignment for Wendy, is to investigate her falling off hibiscus buds to see if there's something living inside of them that shouldn't be there.
And hibiscus that don't have these problems have my problems, which the bunnies love them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And also the deer loves them.
Yeah, it's like candy for deer. If you have a hibiscus, the deer generally are going to go for it first.
When I get another hibiscus, when I try again, I'm either going to grow it on the porch until it's pretty big to where I can share it with the bunnies, or already buy it that big. But for those who have deer problems, I'm not, exclusion is the only way to stop them from eating the hibiscus.
Exactly. So now that Wendy has her extra homework,
she's already we're giving them homework and they're already, oh dang.
don't start thinking, oh great, I'm never asking another question on here again. I mean, keep your questions coming, but that is something pretty interesting, and I do have a blog post on that, so I'll pull that back out and share that on Facebook once again. Boy, we're going to be filling up our Facebooks for the next week, I think. So,
and Teresa has put some kind of publication. I don't know which one it is, but it refers to something we were talking about because she's good at that. Teresa's
very good at that. Oh, and Chuck has a question. How about a class on the crack key method of non-circulating hydroponics? We have done that. We have a master gardener who has helped to teach a couple different hydroponics classes. The last one we did was on Facebook Live, I believe. So that is on our Facebook page. And he is going to come back and we're going to have a session, mostly a question and answer kind of session on Facebook Live on hydroponics, because he's very, very good with different homemade hydroponic systems, like low cost, effective, something that you can put together at home and actually grow lettuce or some other kind of vegetables with. So go to our Facebook page and click under videos, and if you scroll down, you're probably going to find that video.
I think you skipped a few, Bill. Somebody's asking about which insects are eating her hot pepper plant.
Oh, okay. Well, with that could be a lot of different things. You're going to have to go out there and look very, very carefully at the plant and the leaves. If it's actually eating the leaves or the plant so that now there are big chunks of the leaves that are just missing, I would suspect either a caterpillar or possibly a beetle. If it's a caterpillar, caterpillars don't fly and they don't run very fast either. So if you go out there and turn the leaves over, you're going to find the offending caterpillar. And if you only have a few hot pepper plants, the easiest thing to do is pick it off and throw it over the fence into the nearest yard. And he will not fly back. He's not going to come back very quickly. So for one or two or just a few caterpillars, it's so much easier and quicker. Pick them off and throw them over the fence instead of spraying. There are some caterpillars.
Remind me to never move next door to you.
Oh yeah, you'll end up with all my caterpillars if you do that.
And blubber grasshoppers and everything else. Here's another question from Roseanne. What animal would dig up an entire plant? I planted some New Guinea impatiens in my backyard and some impatiens in my front yard, and both were dug up right out of the earth. There we go.
Well, depending on how far out in the country you live or how more urban you live, my first guess would probably be a squirrel.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, because squirrels.
I don't know what they want with the impatiens, though. There's nothing, they don't have bulbs or anything. But I did think of squirrels. So
squirrels dig for no apparent reason a lot of times. If they were dug up and chewed up or eaten, my second guess would probably be rabbits. Mm-hmm. If you have them in your neighborhood. I have rabbits in my neighborhood. Yeah. But like Lily and I like to point out on a regular basis, we have, what's that term you use? The mixed for your lawn?
A diverse lawn area.
Yes, I have a diverse lawn area. So my lawn is maybe 50% bahia and the rest weeds. And boy, the rabbits just love my lawn.
Yeah, mine too. And the gopher tortoises do too.
Yeah, we have them in my neighborhood also. Mm-hmm. They love it when the queen palm flowers and all the little seeds fall off. The gopher tortoise will come over and start chewing on them sometimes.
Well, I have plenty of palmettos in the backyard too, and that's where the gopher tortoises live.
Yeah, they like them too. So, scaling bugs on tomatoes, how to get rid of them. Lost a beautiful heirloom plant thanks to them 2 years ago. Kept it alive for a year, but the insecticidal soap didn't seem to work that well. If you live in Central Florida, and appropriate for Central Florida, tomatoes are grown as an annual. So as a general rule, you're going to plant the seeds at the right time of year. The tomato plant's going to grow. It's going to get big. It's going to flower. You pick the tomatoes. You enjoy them. Eventually, it's going to decline either because of insects and diseases, or if you plant them in the fall, you're going to get a freeze and your tomatoes are going to freeze. At that point, you pull them up and get rid of them. And then the next season, when it's appropriate, you're going to plant more seeds and do that over again. Tomatoes are really, really hard to keep for a year or longer, because what happens is during the summer is really tough on tomatoes. Between the diseases and the insects, your tomatoes probably going to have terminal or fatal problems and not survive the summer. You can try, and sometimes it works, but usually they just get so beaten up between insects, and it's almost more diseases with all the rainfall and the humidity and the heat, that heirloom tomatoes are not going to last for really long. The best way to try to grow tomatoes, and what I do, is I grow Roma tomatoes, the pear-shaped ones, and cherry tomatoes, because there's lots of varieties that come up and grow and produce pretty quickly, and I'm going to get a crop of tomatoes pretty quickly before diseases set in and they start to decline and go downhill. So heirlooms are tough because many of them take a real long time to grow and flower and give you tomatoes. So you tend to run out of tomato growing season before your heirloom tomato is done and has flowered and has those big heirloom tomatoes on them.
It's such a little sweet spot of where to grow tomatoes here in Florida. So.
It is. So we do have a time period in the spring and another one in the fall. But in Central Florida, it gets too cold a couple nights, at least a couple nights over the winter, during the winter, and it gets way too hot and steamy and wet and humid and everything else during the summer to keep them going.
It's a great way to study insects and diseases, though.
It is, yeah. But if you are growing them over the summer, we caution people against that, because what happens is you look at that tomato plant and you're thinking like, oh my gosh, it's starting to look really terrible now. Maybe I need to water it more, or maybe I need to fertilize it more. And then you start spraying insecticides on it and fungicides, and you're spending more money and using a lot more chemicals on it to try to fix something that you're probably not going to be able to fix. So like I said, there are exceptions to that, and there are people that keep their tomatoes over the summer, but it's really difficult, and it's usually easier just to start fresh, healthy plants, get them up and growing and doing great, and they'll flower and give you tomatoes, and you'll actually end up with something in the kitchen that you're able to eat. So let's go ahead and get just a couple more questions here before we wrap it up for this week.
Do you see Carol Ann's? Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So Carol Ann says, caladium plants were planted last year and were a nice size. This year they are so small, do they need something special to be prolific? I know that caladiums and other bulbs need a steady source of phosphorus. Many yards, especially here in Central Florida, the soil naturally has plenty of phosphorus in it. So probably what they need is just fertilizer, like all-purpose lawn and garden 666 or 10-10-10, a light scattering. That's probably going to really help. Now, your caladiums are just about to die and disappear for the year, so there's really not much point fertilizing them right now this late in the season. But next year in the early spring, right when they start to poke up out of the ground, that would probably be a really good time to go ahead and fertilize them, and they should do better. Like I said, a 666 or 10-10-10 doesn't have to be anything really special or expensive. So here we go. Here's another one of my brand new master gardeners tuning in today saying extra homework idea on hibiscus bud drop is great. So we're all kind of ganging up on Wendy today.
Well, no, she can partner with Wendy and help her out.
Okay, that'd be great. Okay, Wendy, I guess you're working with Phyllis. Go ahead and work on that. So look at all I'm accomplishing here on Facebook Live and at the virtual clinic today.
Yes.
Okay, Lily, here's a suggestion for you. Here, oh, that was the wrong one. Is there any study conducted and published for frequency on plant product or food production, music, Wi-Fi, talking to plants, mood? That sounds like a good class for you to pull together.
Maybe together we can do it because you're the food production guy.
Yeah, and there is a lot of information out there. Like we teach our Master Gardener volunteers, you want to be really careful where you get your information from. Yeah. If you look up online University of Florida or any other university, or especially land-grant university, I know University of Georgia has a lot of good information. Cornell has a lot of really good basic plant information.
Clemson
in South Carolina. Texas A&M has a lot of really good information.
Well, yeah, I try to stay either, if I don't use the University of Florida, I'm going to use UGA or Clemson because they're very similar to us. I mean, you can use Cornell and they have great information, just like Penn State would, but it might not apply to us. Or whichever one is in Louisiana, you know, they would be, you could glean more information that would pertain to Florida in the states surrounding us. Mm-hmm. And when you said that, actually my first thoughts were, well, I'll have to see if anybody from UF has studied that kind of thing, because, or else I would go to another land-grant university, like you mentioned, because we're very careful to use only research-based information and not just whatever's out there in the internet, because you can find anything. So
exactly,
and through the different horticultural therapy programs, which UF now has one, and Kentucky has one, and I believe there's one in California. If you find those, they might have researched what music and things like that do to plant production, because that would also help. I would think in a therapy situation, not only are you learning to work with the plants, but, you know, playing soothing music would help the participants as well as the plants. Mm-hmm. So.
And I know playing soothing music really helps with our dogs. That's why they're so quiet at the moment, because they have soothing music going out there. Mm-hmm. So maybe it helps with plants also. And maybe we should contact the people, because Lily and I had a chance to go up there and visit up in Gainesville before COVID, the horticultural therapy department. Maybe they want to join us for a class.
That would be great. Yeah. Oh, write that down on your list.
I already did. Okay. So.
Lee Deal was her name.
Yes, I think that's it. So we'll reach out to them and try to put together a class on that. But if you guys are ever interested in, gosh, where do I find out where all these classes are? And, you know, if Bill can't keep it straight in his head, how am I supposed to keep the whole list straight in my head? We have a place to go. If you just go to hernandoextension.com, and it's scrolling right there on the bottom of your screen, that's a freestanding website. And that has a whole listing of all the classes that I have coming up, all of Lily's upcoming classes, everybody else at our office, because we have our county extension director, Jim Davis, that does pretty much weekly different natural resources videos on a wide variety of different native animals and invasive animals and home pest control. We have a Sea Grant agent, Brittany, who does a lot of marine biology classes. She does things for kids. So if you want to see the entire listing, just go ahead and bookmark that, write it down, hernandoextension.com. As soon as we put together a class to schedule it, it goes on there for you to be able to put it on your calendar, and all the details for each one, whether it's being held on Zoom or Facebook Live, or there's registration involved, all the different various details are right on there.
Do you see Renee's question?
No, because I'm out of questions. I'm on a different screen now.
Why does my hydrangea have brown spots on its leaves?
Hydrangeas.
And I'm not sure if she's referring to the French hydrangea or our native hydrangeas. Probably because it's
The
so
problem
red.
with hydrangeas is many of the hydrangeas that grow up north don't do well in Central Florida. A lot of times you go to a big box store and you'll see beautiful hydrangeas and you'll buy them and plant them, and they're the ones that don't do well in Central Florida.
And don't expect them to be blue. They're just not going to be blue here.
Yeah.
pH will not get low enough for that.
But hydrangeas here I know they get a lot of fungal leaf spot diseases. I know for a fact they get Cercospora leaf spot, which is going to cause spots on the leaves. If you look closely, a lot of times they're purplish or they have a little bit of a purple edge on them. So if you have hydrangeas, you have to put them in a shady spot. So if they're getting too much sun, they're going to suffer. Right now, they're getting too much rain and too much humidity.
I was going to say, it's probably the rain and the humidity.
Yeah, so you're going to have to plan on using a fungicide on it for at least a little bit until the weather changes and it gets a little bit drier and less humid. So hydrangeas are not low maintenance or no maintenance. You're going to have to put maintenance into it, mostly in the way of fungicide.
Like roses.
Yeah, most roses don't do well in Central Florida. Right. Sorry, and I know a lot of people have beautiful roses here, but they put a lot of work and a lot of chemicals and a lot of fungicide, a lot of insecticides into it also. So if you're looking for a low maintenance or a no chemical spray kind of crop, beautiful hybrid tea roses are not the crop to go with here in Florida.
No. What I tell people about roses is you can grow them successfully, but it has to be your hobby that you're in love with, that you are willing to spend a lot of time, a whole lot of time, and chemicals and money on doing. So they're not really, unless it's a knockout rose or one of the old-fashioned, what they call cracker roses, which I have and do nothing to, but the hybrid teas, like Bill mentioned, is not going to be really considered Florida-friendly because of the amount of you're going to have to be using a fungicide every week in the summertime. Now back to the hydrangeas. Unless she's referring to our native oak leaf hydrangea, then those do fine on their own.
Yes, we do have the one variety, one type, the oak leaf hydrangeas that do well here. But I know that at a lot of big box stores and other garden centers, you do see the types of hydrangeas that do really well up north.
Right.
And they have a lot of problems here.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so Carol Ann has some drift roses, and they are low and slow, but have been blooming continuously. Mm-hmm. The old-fashioned vining, smaller roses, generally they do okay here. I have one on like some lattice work around my well, which makes working around the well pretty difficult, but I don't do anything to them, and they're fine. And like I said, the knockout roses, you're going to get maybe 10, 12 years out of a knockout rose, but you won't have to do anything to it. So.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people grow the, what are the smaller roses, the little miniature ones?
Yeah, I don't know. I just call them miniature roses.
Yeah.
Pots, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and, knockout roses.
Oh, no. Okay, I thought you were talking about the little roses.
Yeah, no, the miniature roses can have a lot of problems. knockout roses are very susceptible to an invasive insect that we have called chili thrips.
Yeah.
So knockout roses are more disease resistant, but now you're going to be fighting chili thrips that absolutely love knockout roses and will promptly kill the entire plant.
My house, I've been here 12 years, and I planted, I think, about 9 knockout roses, and they did great for about 10 years. But in the last 2, I have one left living, and it's not exactly what you'd call, you know, thriving either. So
yeah, they kind of struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Marlena asks, can you keep roses potted indoors? I'm new to gardening and love roses. Roses need pretty full sun. So if you do have a spot in your house that gets a lot of sun, let's say a window that faces east or south, or maybe even better, southeast, where you can provide it with a good amount of sun, roses can be grown in a pot. It's, if you go and purchase a decent sized rose, it has to go in a fairly large pot. I would think that providing it with enough direct sunlight is going to be the challenge, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could try that. You can come back on and let us know how it worked. I mean, you know, that should work fairly well. So
you gotta have like a real Florida room or something that really, you know, with the walls of windows and that lets all that light in.
Yeah, or maybe if you have a sunroom or something like that, that's very, very sunny. Sure, roses and any other kind of full sun plant in a container would do really well. Most plants grow very, very well in a container. It may have to be a very big container.
Yeah, it might be like you find at courtyards and restaurants and stuff. Like
exactly,
you and your family could fit in there. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, that was great. Boy, that was a lot of questions. It's a good thing that we left it kind of questions and answers today. I just want to throw in real quickly, we're planning on being here every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. And next week we have Tia visiting with us, and she works for Orange County Extension Service. So she's going to be on here with us helping to answer questions. So please be sure to save up all your really, really difficult to answer questions.
They have
them for her.
Fantastic gardens at Orange County Extension. They have a beautiful demonstration garden there.
They do. It's acres.
Yes. Yes. They have, well, Orange County. I mean, come on.
Yeah. They have a very, very large location. You can go there and walk through the gardens and probably picnic and spend an afternoon there if you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
And coming up within the next couple of weeks, probably early October, we're going to have Dr. Mary Lusk on here, and Lily knows who she is.
The Septic Mary.
Exactly. Her nickname is Septic Mary because she does a lot of research and work with septic tanks and their effects on the environment and groundwater, and she is a septic tank expert. So if you have any questions about how your septic system works, maybe you're thinking about upgrading it, maybe you have to upgrade it, you're having problems with it, go ahead and save all those kind of questions for her, and we'll have her on here in just a few weeks, probably early October. So Septic Mary is coming to the clinic.
She's a very, very intelligent, very nice agent with an unfortunate nickname. Yeah.
She's great to work with. We worked for, gosh, and I think we just finally wrapped up the grant. We've been working for, it must be a year or more on a educational grant for septic systems. Mm-hmm. And I think that's about all I have. I do have a list of videos to look up and share once again on Facebook and other classes for us to plan out. So thank you so much for leaving me with a few things that I could put on my to-do list here. Lily, anything else?
Not that I can think of. Just stay in touch with our Facebook pages And Bill and I have classes, and that is multiple, usually every week. I'm going to be working on, we do a little tips in 10, a 10-minute thing that should appear every Friday. So covering the Florida Friendly Landscaping Principles. So I'll be putting together the one about recycling yard materials, recycling raindrops, things like that. Should be up by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, yeah, just keep following both of us on Facebook.
And if you miss any class, what's happening right now is there's so many of us giving classes, and it's fantastic. There are so many ways to learn across the state that sometimes the classes overlap. But don't worry too much about that. I record every one of my classes. I know Bill does too. So you can always go back. The day I give it, after 2 in the afternoon, the recording will be available, and I usually have the latest class recording pinned to the top of my page. So you can go right now and watch Shabby Chic Landscapes that I gave yesterday. And that was a fun one. So.
Exactly. And I know that's really convenient for people who have to work or they might be busy and they can't actually make it here live. Nice thing about this is it's all saved on Facebook. I take as many of our classes as I can and put them on YouTube also, and they're there forever. As many times as you'd like to watch it, you can. Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, and hopefully all of you will tune in again next Thursday at 10 a.m. and help us welcome Tia. And like I said, save all your hard questions for her.
Lori Ernest likes our new program, our new platform, by the way. We still got Johnny and Ed here. I'm the Ed McMahon in this program, so still
exactly. I like this. I like this too. It takes a little practice, clicking everything just right, but it seems to work really, really well. So thanks, everybody. We will see all of you again next week, next Thursday at 10 a.m.
Okay, bring your questions.
Okay, bye.
All righty, thank you. Bye-bye.